Rama asked, if the liberated one does not find pleasure in pleasure and sorrow in sorrow, then surely he is insentient and insensitive. Well, this is what we were talking about in the last video. We can take an analogy with watching television. You get caught up in the dramas, you laugh, you weep, but at the same time, you know intuitively deep down that you're centered outside of that drama. And the fact that you know that, it actually means you can enter into it more fully. You don't need to hold back because you know your safe center. So no matter what you're watching, it might be terrifying. Maybe you're watching a horror movie and you're on the edge of the seat. You can barely watch it. You're having to cover your eyes sometimes. But part of you still knows that it's only a drama. And your reality is not that of the drama. Vasistha continued, because his awareness is totally absorbed in consciousness, he does not experience pleasure unless he makes an effort to do so. He is said to rest in consciousness. His doubts have been dissolved and his contact with all the objects of the world is flavoured by wisdom. The world has lost its taste for him, though he is still active in it, doing what needs to be done from moment to moment. The world's become a bit like chewing gum, which has lost its savour. And not only do you not want to keep on chewing it, but you want to spit it out. I suppose you can always take another stick now and again if you wish, but you don't particularly want any more chewing gum, but you might decide to have some more, and you'll chew it as long as you want to chew it for, and then you'll spit it out again. So you may or may not have some more chewing gum. On account of the fact that the liberated ones thus rest in the self or consciousness, they appear to be asleep, though they are engaged in activity. In fact, they are not insentient nor insensitive. They are considered to be asleep. That's got apostrophes round it, because they treat this world appearance as if it were a long dream, not because they are insentient. They might strike some people as being a little bit insentient or insensitive. Who knows? But, and this can be a bit of a problem for people close, they might not follow the conventional norms about when it's appropriate to be happy or to be sad. But this is just something that will have to be dealt with as part of the course of things. They rest in that truth or supreme peace which is utterly dark as night to the ignorant. Therefore they are considered to be asleep, but they are not insentient. Since they are disinterested in the world of the ignorant, they are considered to be asleep in the world. They rejoice in the self at all times, hence they are not insentient. They have risen above sorrow. They can still experience sorrow, they can still get involved in it, but it has a similar impact to being emotionally involved in a drama, in a fictional narrative, which can produce some very strong reactions. I remember reading a book, a work of fiction, I think it was called A Fine Balance by a Canadian Indian writer. I can't quite remember his name. But I almost passed out at one moment. There was a certain train of events which was so horrific I couldn't believe it was going to happen. I felt this nausea coming on that you get before you're about to pass out. It's quite a remarkable response to some words of fiction. It's a very real response. but at the same time I was completely detached from it. Having roamed the samsara and experienced all kinds of pleasure and pain, the jiva has the good fortune to come into contact with the holy man and cross this ocean of samsara. And although we might not meet many holy people, we have the incredible good fortune nowadays of having all these teachings and words of wisdom at our fingertips. We have the heritage of the great translators who've translated these books of wisdom for us. We now have cheap and readily accessible media in the form of books, electronic books. We've got our computers, we've got videos. There are so many teachers, even on YouTube, who are in touch with this wisdom. I don't think there's been any time in the whole history of humankind that we've had such opportunities to get in touch with this eternal wisdom, the perennial wisdom. What immense good fortune all we jivas have in these current times. He sleeps in great peace even without a bed. Though he is engaged in intense activity here, he enjoys the peace of deep sleep. This is a great wonder. This sleep cannot be disturbed by anything. He is truly intoxicated who does not see the world. Even though his eyes are wide open, he enjoys the bliss of deep sleep. The world here is put in apostrophes again to indicate that it's not a true entity. So he is truly intoxicated. So the liberated one is being described as intoxicated. And this is a bit like the deep sleep thing. Somebody who's intoxicated to the point of having passed out. So that's an interesting metaphor. He has dispelled the notion of the world from his heart, and he has reached fullness. He has quaffed nectar, and he is at peace. His delight is independent of pleasure. He has turned away from greed. He knows that in every atom there is a universe. He is engaged in diverse and intense activity, though he does nothing. He's not got any volitional intention. He is aware that this world appearance has the same reality as a dream. Thus he has entered into the peace and the bliss of deep sleep. His consciousness is more expansive than even space. By supreme self-effort, he has realized self-knowledge, and he lives as if he were seeing a long dream in pure space. He is fully awake and enlightened, though he appears to be asleep. He enjoys the greatest delight, though he appears to be asleep. He has reached the highest state. He knows that this is just one bubble in the stream of consciousness.